it's Yuko, the former teacher turned instructional designer. So I have one last Articulate Rise module that I created to go through with you. It's my last because I used the free trial. So this one is on an educational theory. It's also an instructional design theory called Backward Design, or Understanding by Design by Wiggins McTighe. So I thought I would create a learning module in Articulate Rise for instructional designers. So let's go through it. So here we have the front page. I created that graphic on the left there in Canva, and I've named it Backward Design for Instructional Designers. So I've also got my initials at the top, and of course my colors. I've got my logo there. So this module has the introduction, 4 lessons, a final quiz, and a congratulations page. Alright, let's start the course. Okay, here we have my introduction. I've created the banner in Canva as well. I use it on my website. So the introduction has a little spiel. So Wiggins and McTighe's Understanding by Design is revolutionised teaching and learning, not just in the K-12 and higher education spheres, but in corporate training and instructional design. So I always used Backward Design as a teacher, and I still use it to guide my instructional design, planning and development. This course will show you how to streamline and perfect instructional design principles. So I've got a little quote from Wiggins and McTighe from the textbook. Content mastery is not the aim of instruction, but a means. So here we have 5 learning objectives. Upon completion of this course, you'll successfully be able to identify the 3 stages of backward design, demonstrate how to use backward design in instructional design planning, analyze instructional materials and content to align with learning goals, create structured and attainable learning goals to base your learning course or module around. And lastly, evaluate your completed course as an ID and learning designer for the most effective and meaningful learning. So all of my learning objectives, they graduate in complexity using Bloom's taxonomy. So lesson 1, the basics of backwards design. So here we'll identify the 3 stages of backward design. That's our learning objective for this lesson. We'll also learn a little bit about how we can use it. Well, first what it is and then how we can use it. Alright, here I've got a little video. It's a short video explaining backward design in 60 seconds. I've also got a longer YouTube video here, which is actually from J. McTighe explaining what understanding by design is. Both of these are embedded from YouTube. This one was created by Hawker Brownlow. So you can watch these in your own time if you do the course. Alright, and now I have a tab system to explain understanding by design. So it's created by Wiggins and McTighe. The process is understanding by design, but also called backward design. So focus learning. The aim is to teach for understanding and transfer by focusing on the bigger picture through concepts and processes. And assessment, we also focus on understanding. Meaningful assessment can be seen through performance tasks, teaching the concept to others, applying what is learned and explaining it in one's own words. I've got a quote from J. McTighe again. Think big, start small, focus on early wins. So this is what he says in that video. So here I've got a carousel with the 3 steps of backward design. It's really quite easy to remember once you've got them down. So step 1 is identify desired results. So what are your learning goals? What are the takeaways and the objectives? Step 2, determine acceptable evidence. How will you assess transfer of learning and goals? So what performance task? How will you apply? And step 3, the last one, plan the learning activities. So what sort of instructional materials and activities will help you achieve your goals? And lastly, it can be applied in corporate training as well. All right, I've got a knowledge check here. So what's the aim of backward design? To promote understanding and transfer. So we focus on the bigger picture. All right, on to lesson 2. Okay, so lesson 2 is a process of backward design. We'll be creating a corporate training course on social media basics. Our objective is to demonstrate how to use backward design in instructional design planning. So here we have an accordion drop down. So we've got the steps of backward design again. So step 1, step 2, and step 3. All right, so step 1, we've got to create the learning objectives. We've got to discover our goals. I've got a link to a learning objective maker that makes it very easy. Also, the Bloom's taxonomy command term verbs that I use myself to create the different critical thinking values for the learning objectives. All right, step 2 is to determine acceptable evidence by looking at assessment. So what assessment? In this case, it's going to be something practical, so a performance task based on social media. Step 3 is to plan the activities. So what instructional materials, content, and activities do we need? For example, photos, videos, editing software, equipment, etc. So all of the images are stock photos unless I created them in Canva. So here's the knowledge check. So what's the first step of backward design? Identify desired results. Okay, on to lesson 3. So in lesson 3, we're implementing backward design in course creation. So now our learning objectives are to analyze instructional materials to align with learning goals and create structured and attainable learning objectives to base our course around. All right, so I've got a timeline, but again, we've got step 1, identify our desired results. We've got to create our learning objectives. Here are some I whipped together using the learning objective maker and the command term verbs. I'll let you read those. So we've got recall, classify, apply, analyze, and evaluate. So they all graduate in complexity. Well, actually 5 is evaluate and create. Just made a bit of a mistake, so I'm just going to change classify the different social media to just classify different social media. Alright, step 2 is determine acceptable evidence. So we have to have assessment for understanding. So we're focusing on real world and authentic tasks, such as analyzing the type of social media and using this to create the type of content. For example, TikTok will focus on Reels. Step 3, we're going to plan the learning activities. So instructional materials and activities, good and bad examples of social media posts, successful creators. We'll create a mood board or a vision board. Then we'll explain why we've planned this type of post and create a presentation to our peers. Okay, in our knowledge check, what could be a suitable method of assessment for a TikTok reel? Not a landscape video, not a written sentence, it's a 15-second short. Alright, so because I edited earlier, it says to complete the content to move on. So usually you'd have to go through everything to move on, but because I edited it, reset. Okay, on to lesson 4. So lesson 4 is evaluating our course using backward design. So the evaluation process is actually very valuable and necessary for instructional design. Our learning objective is to evaluate our course for meaningful and effective learning. So there are certain methods of evaluation, such as student surveys, instructor surveys, running through the course, always go through wrong answers, have everyone in the team do quality assurance by running through it, check with students later, like did they learn anything, did they use the skills, was it actionable and reasonable, and then we can go back and change everything. So I've just got a list of methods of evaluation. I've got a quote from myself here with a stock photo. Evaluating instructional design work through the eyes of a learner will improve our instructional design. So our knowledge check is a true-false question. So course evaluation is very necessary. All right, on to our quiz. So which step of backward design is last? And that is to plan learning activities. And which is not a step of backward design? Select all that apply. So the only real one is determine acceptable evidence. Okay, now we match the steps with their object. So learning objectives are desired results, materials and tasks are evidence, assessment is evidence, and then instructional materials are the learning activities. So the aim of backward design is to design learning for, this is a fill in the blank or a close activity, and I've put the number of spaces, so it's understanding and transfer. All right, now quiz results, and I got 100%. You need 80 to pass. So on to our congratulations page. So again, I had to unlock it by going through everything in the course, which I didn't because I went back to edit. So I'm just going to go through in the editing mode. Okay, so here's our congratulations page. I've got a stock photo that says yay, the caption says you did it, and then I've got well done, you completed this course on backward design and upped your instructional design skills. Thank you to Grant Wiggins and Wiggins McTighe, all credit for understanding bad design, and backward design goes to them, and then I've got a link to their book. And then I've said you can now successfully, and then I've put in all of our learning objectives so people know what we've gone through and what they've covered, what they've learnt. So it's a reflective activity. And lastly, I've got my logo, and then I said looking for more, check out UCO Instructional Design for more ID content, tips and creative learning design. And that was my last Articulate Rise learning course because I finished my free trial. So it was on backward design, which is a learning theory and instructional design theory that I thought I'd create a course on, just like a little crash course to help other IDs or just for planning purposes. So I always use backward design in my planning, development, design. It's very useful. I caught a bug, or well, not a bug, but like a spelling mistake that I'd made while I was reviewing. So I went back and checked that. Again, the evaluation process is very important. If you liked this video, then please go ahead and check out my other videos that I've got there. And please like, subscribe and follow along. If you have any other topics that you'd like me to cover, any other learning management systems or how to use programs or websites or anything really, please let me know. You can always contact me on Instagram. I've got TikTok now. And yeah, even through my website, ucoinstructionaldesign.com. Thanks. See you later.